Do you ever wonder why we do it? Why we invest so much time and efforts into guitar building? Have you ever asked yourself that question? I believe I have an answer. Some people might think that the reason why we invest so much time into our guitar building is because of some kind of pride of work or pride of craftsmanship, and I don't believe that. Some people might believe that they do this because it's fun or meditative. There's some truth to that, but that's not what drives us. That's not what drives us to achieve perfection and precision. It's not what drives us to toil away until our fingertips are numb from polishing these frets. What drives us is pure and simple obsession. That's what it is. And then once you've recognized that it's obsession, then you can start to look back at your work and realize, well, there were some moments that weren't quite so fun or meditative. There were moments where I didn't have pride in my work, but I went through it anyway. That obsession drives us through mistakes. It drives us through mishaps, through poor builds, through poor quality, imperfection, and it keeps pushing us and pushing us and pushing us. Some people might think that what drives us is to top ourselves, to outdo ourselves with every build, but it's still not that. It's pure and simple obsession. So right now I'm at the setup stage, and everybody does this a little bit differently. I'm not going to go through it step by step, but I will point out that I am one of these individuals that believes that relief in a neck is overrated. And I'm not alone. There are a handful of luthiers on the internet that believe the same thing, and I'm in that camp. I understand the physics of a string oscillating. I understand that this string requires some wiggle room for that oscillation. But even with that, you can still get a almost adequately straight neck with zero or little relief. I don't think relief is necessary. Now, if I was building a guitar for a friend that just played cowboy chords, then sure, I'd go ahead and add some relief. Not a big deal, but for the type of music that I play, which is a lot of single note stuff, I'm all over the fretboard. I want to have the same action throughout the board. This is not some fantasy. You can achieve this. This is the way I do it. So for slotting the nuts, I'm just using the standard StewMac slotting files. Nothing special here, they're okay. And what I'm doing when I'm slotting these nut slots is I'm not going to the optimal depth. I'm staying slightly above it, and there's a reason. This will be the first thing I do in the process. The next thing I'll do under tension is adjust the truss rod. So I want to adjust it to get a straight neck. And what happens is when you get a straight neck with no relief, that straight neck then will push these strings down if you have slotted these to an optimal depth, and you'll get buzzing on the first fret. So I like to stay slightly above optimal depth just to get that straight neck. All right, and then I'll kind of maybe dial it back just a little bit. The next thing I'm going to do is then adjust the string height at the bridge. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm going to adjust the string height, and then I'm going to go back to the truss rod, determine if there's any buzzing, and then I'm going to go back to the nut slots if I need to. And that's what I do. I do slots, truss rod, bridge, back to the truss rod, back to the nuts. It's kind of like a loop. And I'm going to go back and forth as necessary for as long as I need to. And obviously I'm letting the guitar sit and rest, so it's under tension. It'll be under tension for several days, and I'll continue to do this if I have to over and over. I think the last thing I'll do is adjust the pickup height. I think they're okay right now. So I'll run this through a strobe tuner to get the intonation to be optimal. And I'm going to start using the word optimal now. I realize I'm using the word perfect too much, and I noticed that other guitar builders are using that word too. And I don't want to seem like everything I do is perfect. In fact, I want it to be the opposite. I want you to know that there are lots of mistakes that I make, and I am fallible just like everyone else. So From now on, I'll use the word adequate or optimal. I won't use perfect anymore. So I'm after an optimal setup here. And I'm gonna continue to do this over the next few days. And I think even today, I'll record just a little bit of a demo without intonating. So I think that'll be a really good indicator of where we're at. So later on in the video, you'll hear me play this without actual intonating the bridge. This is just set it on there based on the line that I built, and we're gonna play it. And the only thing I'm gonna do now is just adjust the bridge string height. I really dig it. So far, so good. The bridge is working out really nice too. I might do a review on this, but I mean, it's a really inexpensive, all aluminum bridge. I think it's great for the money. I paid $80 for it. I prefer hip shot style bridges because it's just so much easier to adjust everything, like intonation, saddle height, so easy. These type of like headless style bridges are so difficult because you have to take the string out of tension, basically take the string out and then adjust the height and the intonation. Is a big, big mess. But for $80, it looks gorgeous and it just fits the whole really look of this guitar. This is what the wiring looks like in the back. You can't see this, I know you can't, but this is the touch sensitive, touch capacitive pickup switching system. So right now there's no battery in it, it's not powered, but the cool thing about this device and the relay is that it remembers its last state. So it doesn't need to be battery powered to actually use it. I could plug this in right now and whatever the last state was, let's say, and I know this for a fact, it was the neck pickup, that's where you're at. So you can't switch it without the power, but you can certainly play it. So even if your battery dies, or you could never use the touch system, it works. So I plugged it in, everything's great. I thought I was gonna have some grounding issues, and I didn't really have grounding issues. It wasn't that bad. There was just a little bit of a ground issue, and I knew that was gonna happen. Aluminum is really, it's a conductor of electricity, but it's a poor conductor of electricity. And this is anodized, and even the manufacturer suggested to scrape away or sand away the bottom of the plate where your ground wire is gonna go. And I did that a little bit. I should have done a little bit more, and I should have actually probably scraped each of the saddles and where they're touching the plate, because I think I'm getting a poor connection from the anodizing, and I might have to correct for that, or maybe not. When I play the demo, it's gonna be as is right now with that ground issue, but I will fix it. So all this kind of nice wiring that I did is gonna go away. So what I need to do moving forward is still design the back plate. It'll be out of aluminum. Do that. Decide whether I want a truss rod cover. I don't think it's necessary, but maybe I'll do one. A lot to go. There's still a long journey ahead, but I just wanted to show you an update because I didn't want to just not post. That would be boring. You know, I watch all of your videos for those of you that have channels. And sometimes when you don't post, I get a little sad. I'll admit it, I get a little sad. And so I wanted to post something, even if it's just a little update. This is just some wax here. I did put a coat of wax and I buffed it, but I didn't notice this till right now. Oh, so one more thing is I didn't shield the cavity. I'm gonna test that out. I'll tell you why. These are touch capacitive pads essentially, and they're made out of copper. And so my touch is going to activate and switch the pickups. Now they're directly embedded into that cavity. So I thought if I had shielded it with either conductive paint or shielding tape, I go with conductive paint, it would increase that capacitance. I don't know what I'm talking about here at this point. It's all just kind of guesswork, but I would suspect that then it might, I don't know, make it all, I don't know what I'm talking about. It just felt wrong to shield the cavity with conductive paint because remember, I can control in the code the threshold of these touch pads, meaning I can touch them to activate them, or I can get close enough so that it actually senses my proximity to it. to activate it. So that means if I had conductive paint on the cavity, it might interact in some manner with either the pads, the wires, the microcontroller, I don't know. It was scary. And I didn't want that as a variable. So right now there's no shielding, and I ran this through my amp already, and there was no issues, 0 issues. There's no shielding in the pickup cavities either. Consider these things. There's no shielding in the cavities, there's no shielding in the actual electronics cavity, and this is an anodized aluminum bridge that I barely scraped away some of the anodizing for that ground wire, but you got basically anodized saddles touching anodized plates, and I don't think this works. I don't know how they get away with building stuff like this. Maybe a 0 fret would help, but anyway, I want you to consider all that when you listen to it, because you're gonna hear essentially almost no ground hum or noise. The other thing too is for the battery, I didn't realize till much later that I should have added a stereo jack to be able to turn on and off that battery. That would be a good idea. Too late now. Well, it's not too late, but I'm not gonna bother with it. This is just a prototype. So the next iteration, I'll introduce a stereo switch to be able to turn on and off the battery. And as far as charging, I haven't even considered how I'm gonna charge it, to be honest. I have a female USB panel mount that I can put in here, but I didn't design for that, so there's no real room for it. Eventually, when this whole system shrinks down, I can design with that in mind and design a cavity with that in mind. But for now, I'm gonna have to pull it out to charge it. It's not a big deal. Remember, this whole point was to test whether this proof of concept worked. It does. As far as I'm concerned, success. All right, so let's watch some video and let's hear this in action. So I know, not much of an update, not a lot of guitar building, but I didn't not want to post anything. I wanted to post something just so you can enjoy your cup of coffee in the morning or whatever. All right, that's all I have for this week. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.